Good morning.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, y'all. This is the WOW Podcast, WOWW, Wendy's on Wellness Wednesday. We are not together this week, alas. But I am Dr. Wendy Sue Massey. I am an alternative medical practitioner, holistic nutrition specialist, author, owner of Freedom Holistic Wellness, and now Grace and Grove Homestead. I'm a wife, a mom, a Gigi, lover of Jesus, and this is my amazing friend, Wendy Flournoy.
Hey guys, Wendy Flournoy, certified hypnotherapist, herbal enthusiast, wife, mom, Gigi, lover of Jesus, gardener, janitor, all the things. I know I'm sad that we're not together this week. I enjoyed us being together.
Oh my goodness. Talk about life-giving. Between our time together and this whole conference that we went to, yes. My head's still in the clouds.
Yes.
I mean, it is just so much to process when you experience something as profound as what we did.
I've been to a lot of conferences and a lot of trainings and things like that. And this one was just so different because it was God-centered and it was absolutely amazing. And every time I talk about it, I get God bumps.
Yes. I got choked up and chills so many times throughout that weekend, just hearing amazing people of influence who love Jesus. You know, we got to hear so many people that understand the way God designed our bodies to be able to heal innately. He gave us everything we need to be able to naturally heal. And when you're surrounded by hundreds of people that all have that same belief and everybody's worshiping and praising Jesus and giving him all the glory the whole time. Woo,
right. And teaching, and they feel the need, just like we do, to teach people about this. And it absolutely blew me away how many Western medicine practitioners were there.
Yes.
How many doctors, how many registered nurses. That was so encouraging because that's just going to keep spreading.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, Dr. Ben Edwards.
Oh, amazing.
Oh my gosh. If you all have never heard of Dr. Ben Edwards, he was new to me and there were a lot of people there because he was there. So he's got.
I had only heard about him because the legacy media was just completely trashing him. And that's what made me look into him.
Well, he's got a lot of people following him, and I'd never heard of him. Once I heard his story, I was like, oh, I have heard of that guy, but I didn't put two and two together.
Right.
What a profound speaker. And I mean, the shakeup he's created in his small little Texas town and how he's been able to grow that to become a community of people who believe that we have the ability to heal first and then consider all of the conventional options secondary.
Yeah, because none of them are anti-Western medicine.
Oh,
everybody feels that everything has a place and a time, but all of them recognize that things are not the way they're supposed to be as God intended.
Well, you remember when he said, I mean, talk about so many things that gave us validation this weekend, right?
Yes.
You and I talked about that so much. We'd walk away from something and either, of course, we learned a lot of new things, but how many times we heard echoed the very things we have been teaching, or, somebody with just all this knowledge simplifying things right down to where you and I are always talking. And I'm like, oh my goodness, thank you, Lord. This has been
lots and lots of great confirmations.
Yes, we're on the right path.
Plus all the new learning. It was, I'm going to tell you what, if you guys have an opportunity to attend this, because what was this year, their fourth year?
Yes.
And they've already set the dates for next year. If you have an opportunity, I wouldn't miss it. No. As long as they have it, we'll never miss it.
No, it was so incredible. And it's going to outgrow its location. The first year, In 2022, they only had 47 people attending. This one was 700 people attending.
Yeah.
And next year, it's going to be at the same location where they have to max out at 900. So if you all are interested, I want to say, what was it, April 16th through 18th? Whatever that Thursday through Saturday is next year.
Yes. Yes.
My husband is happy to hear it was not M3 weekend. They don't ever do
April 16th, 17th, and 18th of 2026.
Oh, well, Wendy and I already bought our tickets. We already bought our VIP tickets. Let me tell you, it is worth it.
Oh my goodness. The value for the VIP package is like nothing I've ever experienced before.
Same.
It was tremendous value.
Same.
Tremendous. I was blown away.
Yeah.
And not only the giveaway bags that they gave us, but the VIP lounge during the conference, always stocked full of great, clean snacks and food options, organic, wonderful coffee. Plus that included lunch for the 2 days. And, since we did VIP, we got the dinner with Joel Salatin.
The whole thing. I mean, it was the grab bag alone was worth hundreds of dollars.
Yes,
I couldn't even put a price tag on it. I know that one company that gave the 3 tinctures.
3 tincture bottles in the grab bag. Those alone were probably worth $100.
Easily. They said they were. They said that those 3 alone were worth $100. So, I mean, and that only scratched the surface of the stuff we were given. I mean, it was incredible.
I feel sorry for anyone that flew in because that was a lot of stuff.
Yeah, if you're flying in, don't do VIP. You're going to go home with a whole lot of stuff. But
or make sure you have room for an extra bag.
Yeah, definitely. And they gave us these shirts.
Yes.
Make American Christians healthy again. I love that.
I love it.
The matcha movement. I thought that was great. I've been saying maha so long. I was like, ooh, I like the matcha movement. I think
I like matcha.
It's so much fun. But yeah, I mean, people like Dr. Edwards talking about, how like I said, just confirming it all, how our bodies were innately made to heal and one thing I was going to bring up that he said that I have said 1,000 times. And again, it was just such great confirmation is that in our country, we are the best at trauma. We're the best at emergency medicine. Didn't he say that?
He did.
We are the best.
And he wasn't the only doctor that I heard say that.
Yeah. But outside of that, we are the worst at managing chronic disease. We have we break all the records in the world for the worst at infant and mom mortality.
I was blown away by those statistics.
We also lead the world in chronic disease numbers across the board. I mean, these are things we don't want to be the best at, y'all. But in emergency medicine and trauma medicine, we're also the best. So that's where you rest your hope and your happiness and knowing you have that available to you in this country. When you have an emergency, you're not going to get better care. Chronic diseases, y'all, you got to retrain. You got to reframe the way you look at disease in this country because we're getting it wrong.
Yep.
We're getting it wrong. We have to go back to the roots of our divine creation and how we were created to heal. And
what does that all start with? Starts with our food.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And they said that across the board too. Yeah. I also thought it was really cool. I did not go into a single practitioner's session that encouraged any of the extreme diets.
No.
And I was so grateful for that. There were a number of them that encouraged, doing a ketosis or a ketogenic diet when you're in certain situations, when you're trying to get your insulin resistance under control.
Yes. The theme seemed to be only a temporary thing.
Yes.
Not a long-term thing.
Right. There was a place for carnivore. There was a
Yes.
place for veganism. There was a place, but for the general overall, they were intended to be therapeutic for short periods of time for healing, not a full-on lifestyle. What
Right.
we teach with, the low to moderate carbs, the moderate protein, not excessive protein. I didn't hear one practitioner encourage excessive protein, which made me so happy. And then the high fiber I heard repeatedly. I heard,
and clean. The every session that I attended, because Wendy and I tried to divide and conquer. we were working out plans in our hotel room on how we were going to get as much as we could from every session they offered. Yes. And of course, there were two of us wasn't enough to do that.
No. Come join us next year. We need more people.
But thankfully, they offered at the end of the conference, they did offer video sessions of every session.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's amazing. But we did try to divide and conquer. And the theme that I kept hearing was just clean. Know where your food is coming from. Know who's raising your food. Know what they're feeding your food. Very important.
Not one practitioner recommended any kind of gimmick products, anything like that. Not one.
And I did hear the place and time for supplements.
Yep.
But make sure you know what you're getting.
Exactly. It was just it was such beautiful confirmation throughout. So anybody that follows me and Wendy, or is interested in any of the programs I teach, I can tell you, though I get confirmation every time I work with a client and know that it's working, what a beautiful thing to feel like I'm already on the right path. I knew that, but wow, to get that confirmation,
that's I did, even though I probably didn't need to. I attended a couple of the herbalist seminars, and what I found just gave me a huge boost of confidence that I know a lot more than I give myself credit for.
Yeah.
And the reason I believe God led me to do that was, one, for the boost of confidence, to reaffirm that I do know what I'm talking about. And I believe that I have found my next herbal mentor. So I would not have done that, been able to do that, if I wouldn't have gone to a couple of those sessions.
Yeah. Oh, you're so right. Yeah. Dawn Combs, she was amazing. And I told you, it brought tears to my eyes when I went and heard her, because I saw you up on that stage with her. Like everything, I understood why of all the herbalists that were there, I understood why you were drawn to her, because you all are so alike in your personalities, in your viewpoints. I could just see why you were drawn to her. And
I immediately just kind of zoomed in on her and resonated with her when she wasn't even speaking to me. She was answering, she was on a panel and answering questions, and just immediately felt a connection with her, of kind of like God saying, this is for you.
Yeah. We got so much of that. We got so many God winks that weekend.
And met so many wonderful people.
Oh my goodness. The connections we made, and it's so much fun. I'm a book girl. I love hand.
Me too. We brought home so many books, y'all.
I will never have time to read all these books, but I started right away on one of them. Dr. Tabitha, can't remember her last name because everybody called her Dr. Tabitha Denton.
Look in the thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but
which one was her book?
The Fast to Faith.
Yes, I got that one.
Yeah, I started reading that. It's an excellent book. Again, very much the same concepts I teach, but I love to look at another provider's perspective and just, and so.
Me too. And that's why I think I loved attending any of the herbalist sessions, because, there's always room to learn.
Yeah.
And learning from different people who have a different perspective from you just broadens your learning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. we definitely learned a lot. I don't want to come across as cocky as, oh, I knew all that. No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, we
It
learned,
was more of a confirmation, because I really feel like, especially in this world where, especially in nutrition, well, really both, in any whole, holistic or natural healing, there's so much conflicting information out there.
Yes.
And yet I experienced none there. Did you
No.
hear anything conflicting?
No, I did not. I heard different ideas and different perspectives, but the main themes were all the same. The same line of thinking and the same God-centeredness. And that's what made it so amazing, because no other conference I've ever attended has been God-centered. And that made a tremendous difference, I think, in the attitudes of people and the perspectives of people and how everybody treated each other.
Yes.
It was amazing. Thank you, Lord. And that is the reason that these two ladies started this conference, because that is what they were looking for.
Yeah.
And they couldn't find it. So they started it.
Yeah. Well, Wendy and I have been part of other conferences that were not Christian based. Mm-hmm. And, yes, we made some good connections, but we never walked away feeling warm and fuzzy.
It's not the same, especially if you're looking for someone to truly learn from, or maybe do an apprenticeship or have a mentorship or something like that. To me, that God-centeredness is very important to me. I wouldn't go train with a hypnotherapist that was all woo-woo.
Right.
You're
right. Because we
and I know you experienced that going through your PhD. It's like, you got to pick and choose. And it's like, although there's valuable information to learn from other people that aren't God-centered, that's not someone that I want to make a foundational base with.
Right. You have to use your discernment when you're in those situations, and you have to use your discernment no matter what we're hearing, because, even within the Christian community, there's a lot of, different thought processes. But one thing that was clear this weekend is that when you are rooted in Scripture and when you're united in a love for Jesus, everything else just flows.
Everything else follows and falls into place. But that thing that connection with God, that relationship with Jesus has to be there in order for everything else to fall into place.
Yeah. And there's a reason why, I teach, it's amazing how many practitioners I talked to this weekend that had never heard of the downward causation model, because a lot of them had gotten their training in Western medicine and then maybe went into a functional direction.
Right.
And so, training is different in that. That was a big foundational principle in my education. But the downward causation model that I've talked about in here before, it's the reverse of how Western medicine works. So with Western medicine, so you're looking at a pyramid. With Western medicine, with conventional medicine, the base, which is the physical self, is where Western medicine begins and ends most times. Yeah. Sometimes they move up the pillars to, emotional and mental health. They never get to spiritual health unless you have a very rare doctor hold on to them if you do. But in holistic medicine, we recognize that the pinnacle is at the top. It's your spiritual health. And if that is crumbling, everything below it suffers.
Yep.
So, to see, like I said, 700 people standing in agreement that Christ is king over our body, our health, over everything. And from there, all the rest can fall into place. And that's how we were designed.
Yes.
So even when they were talking about the effectiveness, and I've taught this, but it was really neat to hear the effectiveness of prayer on cortisol levels, on vagal nerve stimulation, and the effect that has all the way down to the cellular level. Yep. If you're somebody that doesn't believe that there is a God to talk to, and you don't have that understanding of what that spiritual connection does for your health, you're missing out on a major.
It just reminds me of, with God, all things are possible.
Amen.
And that belief system, when you believe in God, that sense of peace and that sense of knowing that you're never too far gone, no matter what you're dealing with.
That's right.
There's nothing like it.
No. I can't imagine going through life without that peace.
Me either.
That peace, that understanding, and
mm-hmm.
Yes. So come away from a conference like that. I don't know about you. You and I didn't talk about this ahead of time, other than a brief blurb of what I told you I was feeling. But so we left so inspired. And I know this. I know that Wendy feels the same way I do, because we talked nonstop. Not only after each day's session, we never got to bed early.
We said we were going to go to bed early because sleep is important.
Every night we're up till 11:30, 12 o'clock, still talking about our day. Oh my goodness. And then we drove home after the last session, after the last day, the third day, and didn't get home till midnight, or to my house till midnight. But we talked all the way home too. And I know that we gained so much from there, and so much inspiration. But what happened the next few days is something I wasn't prepared for. And that was, they even talked about it. They said, we know you're going to leave here with inspiration and overwhelm, but just pick one thing. And they repeated that last day, especially, multiple times. And I'm sitting there going, oh yeah, it's good.
We're the go big, do everything girls.
The next day, I had so much overwhelm. And probably Monday, not only did I have overwhelm, but I had this feeling of inadequacy, because I started thinking about all these things, and it's like, how am I going to make all this happen? And I'm not, I don't have the influence I wish I had. I don't have this. I started going down the I don'ts, and God spoke to me through my son, like he always does. But
thank you, Matthew.
Yes. Matthew and I are having a conversation. And by the end of that conversation, of course, I'm laughing because he has a way of bringing humor into it. And this was Monday. And by the end of our conversation, I said, I guess what I'm recognizing is we had so much introduced to us. But all of these people had their specialty, right? There was the kombucha lady. There was people making, homemade personal care products. There was somebody
classes, sourdough classes.
Yes,
there were people. Animal herbalism.
Yes, there were people that specialized in lavender. There were people that specialized in regenerative meat. So there was all these things, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it all happen. And finally, at the end of our conversation, I said, Matthew, I think I just realized what my problem is. I'm trying to be the Walmart of holistic therapy. And it's like, I can't be. Why do I want to be? I want to be specialized in a couple of things and be really good at that. I don't need to be Walmart.
That's right. And you know what? That's where community is important, right? Yes. Because when you build the community, you typically are building people that have different strengths than you. Yeah. They may be like-minded and God-centered, but they don't do what you do. Yeah. I don't do what you do. You don't do what I do. However, we do complement each other well. So I think we're supposed to build our community like that.
Yes.
But I kind of went the opposite, because I came away with more confidence.
Good.
And always humble enough to realize that I have so much more to always learn, and finding the right people, and kind of niching down on specialties. But I also took like the fermenting class and things like that, because there's things that I also want to add to my personal journey, not just my business and learning journey.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely amazing. I can't. Tomorrow, I'm starting some fermentation things.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, that was one of those things. I didn't make it to the fermenting class. You made it to a couple of really good ones that you went to the meat organ class.
Oh, that was amazing because you guys, I even surprised myself because I was open-minded enough to try a piece of raw beef liver, which it was not bad. I'm not going to say it was good, but it was not bad. It was tolerable, and I could do that on a daily just for health. You know, and I also tried it cooked, and it was much better and nothing like my childhood memories remember. So yeah, that was fascinating about all of that.
That's so cool. I've been using that guy's seasoning.
The pluck.
Y'all gotta check that out. I don't have it in front of me. I should have grabbed it in here. Pluck seasoning, PLUCK. And I mean, don't make your mind up before you try it. I'm telling you, it's fantastic.
What a great way to get in the health of organ meats.
Yeah.
You not even realize you're getting it.
Right. He's got the organ meats. You know, I guess, did he dehydrate or freeze dry that?
I think they freeze dry. Just the way the seasoning seems, but I'm not sure. I know they put it through, they cook it, plus they add raw, and then they like pate it. I wasn't a big fan of the pate, but when it's either dehydrated or freeze dried, whatever the end product is, to turn into the seasoning over your other food, you can't tell that you're eating organ meat.
No, I've been using it ever since I've been home, and not one person, if Honey's listening to this, sorry, I haven't been trying to. Nobody has noticed that they've been getting that on top of their
you just don't tell them.
This will prove whether or not he watches our podcast or not.
When he says something to you, what have you been putting in my food?
Right. But no, that was excellent. It and of course it's not just the organ meats. He mixes it with other things, you know, that taste good.
Vegetables and yes. It was very amazing because, you know, I had literally a bad taste in my mouth from childhood years. And that was the first thing he kind of told his group in the session was, you know, at some point we have to be adult enough to let go of things like that and try things again, because it might not be what we remember.
Right.
And he went through, you know, most people overcook liver, which makes it tough and slimy. Yeah. And the texture is already different from anything else. So I found that to be very interesting. He gave us tips and tricks on how to cook other organs and mix it with things that we're already cooking. That way you still get the health benefits of it, but you don't necessarily, you know that you're eating beef tongue or beef liver.
Yeah. And I know you did the fermentation class. You did.
Yeah, I love that because, you know, I've been making sauerkraut for years, but I wanted to see if I could do it better. Yeah. I also learned that I'm killing all the good stuff when I can it.
Isn't that wild? That's another thing when you're in a place like this where people are not afraid to share the truth.
Yes.
And you know, if you go on Facebook and dare talk about eating anything that's not been canned, you're like, oh my gosh, you're going to kill grandma. You know, you don't do all this stuff. When what we were hearing repeatedly was going back to your roots, and there were a ton of Amish folks there.
Yes, I love that.
Oh my God.
The Amish, they water bath everything. They don't pressure can anything. But you know, I would make sauerkraut. I would put it in the jars, and then I would pressure can it to preserve it, make it shelf stable. Right. Well, I never thought about I'm killing all the good stuff out of it when I pressure can it. So now it's like, okay, well, she said it lasts in the refrigerator for up to a year. And if you haven't eaten your jar of sauerkraut in a year, then it's time to make a new batch.
Right. You're not eating it enough.
Exactly. And then the fermented vegetables I have always loved, but never knew how to make them. So I did a class on that and some was it dilly beans, the fermented green beans.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
That's
the cauliflower mixed vegetables and the dilly beans. I was told several times by different people that fermented broccoli is not worth making.
Really? I don't know that I've ever eaten it. Then that's probably why.
Evidently, it doesn't hold up well, and it gets more of a bitter taste to it, where the cauliflower just kind of gets twangy and more crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense.
It does make
Broccoli is
sense.
more, a whole lot softer than cauliflower. But I'm going to do the cauliflower and the carrots with the garlic spices and things like that. I'm looking forward to it.
That sounds awesome.
Oh, can we tell them about the gluten-free sourdough bread that we had in the VIP lounge?
Gosh, yes.
We loved it so much. Wendy emailed the baker.
I was like, please give me this recipe. That's been my nemesis. I haven't been able to figure out how to do a good gluten-free sourdough. They nailed it. So if anybody's local to the Wooster, Ohio area, it's Charcoal Bakery. And they did a gluten-free, dairy-free sourdough. And it is
amazing.
Out of this world. They nailed it. They got the texture right. They got everything right. It was absolutely amazing. So I'm so grateful that that we got the chance to see that it actually can be done.
Yeah, now, whether right. or not I think I went back to that table one too many times.
Hey, girl. I made sure to only have one piece a day, but daggone it. That was woo. And they also weren't they the ones that also made those berry muffins? I
think so. They were amazing too.
They were. I couldn't have their other ones because I didn't want to be so far from home and test my
banana.
How well I've done with my banana allergy improvement. Yeah. But because everything else had bananas in it, but those berry ones didn't, and they were whew.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Everything in the VIP area was great. Even the lunch and the dinner that they served, everything was just amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
Maureen from God's Good Table, I think, had a hand in all of the meals that were cooked there. And she was pretty amazing. I took one of her classes and talked to her several times. You guys go look up God's Good Table.
Yeah.
She's teaching, she's raised 9 children. She's God-centered. She's doing a lot. She's doing a lot.
She's the real deal. She's the real deal. She lives in Virginia near Front Royal, she said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, she was amazing. Oh, let me tell you something else. There were so many vendors, y'all. Wendy and I know I spent entirely too much money on teas and just all kinds of things. We both bought a water filter, a tabletop water.
I got notice that mine's been shipped. Did you get your notice?
Yes, I think mine's supposed to arrive today, according to the thing. But it's so funny because I've been planning on getting my mom a water cooler downstairs just so she could have some decent water that she could just, but I'm thinking, okay, a big subscription of one of those, 1 gallon or whatever, or 5 gallon. I don't know how much are in those, but like the Culligan coolers. Yeah. And when we tasted their water, and they had it all week for everybody, it was so good. And it comes out cheaper. It's a one-time purchase. And they had
last year and the year before, I was seriously researching Berkey water filters, and I was not liking what I was finding on Berkey.
Yeah.
So when we came across this water company, and they're a lot like Berkey, just a whole lot better in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer, and the deal that they were having at the conference, it 30%
was off.
Yeah.
30%. And so we both got it because what I would have paid for a monthly service, this will be paid for in 9-10 months. And then we just have to change the filters every 2 years, they said.
That's right. Yep. So, 1 to 2, depending on what's in your water. Yeah. And the only thing it doesn't filter out is fluoride, but they are currently working on a fluoride specific filter, and they hope to have that out within the next year. So that gives me hope for that. And the cost of the filters were very reasonable and last a long time. You can't buy bottled water that cheap.
Nope.
You just can't.
You sure can't. You sure can't. So I got that for my mom. I know Wendy got one too. And so we're really happy with finding that. And actually she said the fluoride filters will be out by the end of this month.
Oh, the end of this month.
Yeah,
okay.
the end of this month.
Okay. Even better.
Yes. So that was very encouraging. I don't have to worry about fluoride here, but I know you do and yours. So that'll be great. I've been having, and I haven't really talked about it. I'm sure it's probably been apparent on some days worse than others when I'm talking to people, but I've been having this problem with streaking on my teeth, and it's been driving me absolutely insane. I've been very self-conscious about it. And it only started like 8 or 9 months ago. Girl, I haven't told you this yet because you know how bad it was bothering me and how I was on a hunt. I talked to a holistic dentist who was there, who, by the way, was amazing.
Oh, he was blowing my mind.
He was incredible. But I talked to him. I looked. Are you there?
I think you froze up. Oh, you're back.
Okay. Yeah. All of a sudden everybody was spinning. So not good. But there is a product I purchased while I was there, and it's something we can all make. But I now am going to look up the right ratios. But if you don't want to fool with making it, I highly recommend this. This is a company called the Bohemian Mama.
Oh, she was amazing.
In 3 days, my streaks are gone.
Oh, nice. Is it like toothpaste powder?
It is. It's a tooth powder. It remineralizes and whitens, which the remineralization, I think, is what I need. You even told me that, Wendy. You thought I just needed to remineralize. This contains bentonite clay, baking soda, activated charcoal, peppermint, therapeutic grade essential oil. And that's all. And in 4.
Oh, you're freezing up, Wendy.
Oh, no.
Okay. I got bentonite clay, activated charcoal. What else was it?
Baking soda and peppermint therapeutic grade essential oil.
That's exactly what I put in my toothpaste powder.
Yeah, that is, you're on the right path, because that's, I've been using pieces of that, but I have never used them all together. And I guess that's the key, because I
added, at first, when I first started playing around with toothpaste powder, it was strictly like activated charcoal once a week, just for kind of detoxing my gums and things. And for anyone that doesn't know, at 23 years old, I was in a head-on collision, and when I hit the dashboard, I broke the bone here. And so I've had root canals on all of my front teeth, and it's been a miracle. They tell me that I even still have my own teeth.
Yeah.
So it's when things start happening with my mouth, I get like you, I get very self-conscious. And so the activated charcoal I found was a little too much for me. It would get to the point where my gums were bleeding because they were detoxing too much, too fast. So then I added the bentonite clay, and the peppermint's just for flavor. Taste.
Sure. Yeah.
And baking soda. And that does wonders, absolute wonders. I still can't use the activated charcoal on a daily. But for like maintenance or clearing or things like that, absolutely. Once or twice a week, definitely. I'm so glad that you got that and used it, because I know how you were feeling about that.
It was bugging the tar out of me. And and some days it's worse than others, but I haven't had it clear like this. It's rapidly, I've been able to do things like I've gotten away from using my baking soda because I was afraid that part of what was causing the streaking was a breakdown of the enamel. The more and more that I look into it, I don't think that's it. But whatever it was, this has definitely been a good key to helping me with that.
And maybe, and it could be that you just need some remineralization.
Yeah.
The bentonite clay is going to help the most with that. And it could be just some kind of detox. Maybe something's in the mouth. You know what I mean? That you can't feel or don't know.
The holistic dentist, what was his
Yeah.
name? Brian Spillman. Oh my goodness. Another one you all need to follow. He's amazing. But anyway,
I think he was out of Texas too, wasn't he?
No.
I have the book here.
We were talking about this. Where was Mike Pence from? Indiana?
Oh, yeah, Indiana.
Indiana. Okay. Yeah, he was from Indiana. Fort Wayne area. That's what it was.
That's right.
Area.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. But
Billman.
He was talking about the number of diseases that are connected to whatever has happened in our mouth. We've heard, a number of us in the holistic space have talked for years about the mercury and getting that out of our heads. Unfortunately, I have a mouth full of it in the backs.
Me too.
Because of, just childhood cavities. But he said that 95% of all breast cancer patients, all women with breast cancer, on the same side of there was a recent study done, at least of this study group, 95% of women with breast cancer on the same side of their cancer had a root canal.
Oh, wow.
Now, does that mean just because you've had a root canal doesn't mean you're going to get cancer? Right. But it's really fascinating that when you hold on to, he was talking about how you're basically just blocking off all this infection and just letting it fester. And so it's going to create, problems later down the line. And that was an interesting connection that they had made in that study. But yeah, I mean, the information we got was insane.
And of course, we were totally fangirling over Joel Salatin. We got to hear him speak so many times and be at dinner with him on Friday night. And he always has amazing, wonderful things to say and stories to tell. And I know so many people that are learning from him on the regenerative farming. And my local farmer that I have just fallen in love with, he learned from him. And that just makes me more encouraged to support him because I know his practices and how he does things.
He is out of this world. And I bought and ordered so many of his books while I was there, which surprised me I hadn't done before. But I mean, he has a lot. But
he does have a lot.
I had to buy one there because we
had to get it signed. I bought a different book than she did. So, and then we got in line and did the book signing so we could meet him and get a picture.
That was just so exciting. Yeah. He spoke 5 times at this conference and I didn't miss one. When Wendy divided and conquered, I
gave her the Joel Salatin classes.
I kept telling her, I was like, I don't want to hug him. She was like, no, girl, it's good. I want to see this. I want to see that. I was like,
there was so much I wanted to do. I was at one point I was wishing there was 4 of me so I could just go in 4 different directions.
Yes, it is. It's amazing how much information was there. But anyway, my goodness, we could talk all day. Was there anything, I figured we'd break it down by days. We don't have a ton of time, but like day 1, when we did the intensive session, which is optional, y'all. So if you do go to sign up, which by the way, if you want to sign up this week is the cheapest you will get tickets. They are doing a 1-week special, post-conference special. And Wendy and I already got ours. Already 50% of the 100 VIP tickets are gone. I don't know how many of the others, but you can bet this conference is going to be sold out. So if you want to go and join us,
that might be less than what it is because that was on what, Sunday or Monday that they said it was down to 50% already.
Yeah, it was Monday. It was Monday. They said that they had already sold 50% of the available VIP tickets, so they're going to get sold out. But it's seekingwholehealth.com/presale.
Yeah.
And I know our Rachel, she already got her VIP tickets, so she's going with us. And I know she always listens to us. We love you, honey.
She already come and she said, I will be there.
Oh, so excited for her to join us. This was right up her alley, but
Yes.
she was at a yoga conference that had been rescheduled that she had done, a Christian focused.
I saw her pictures and that looked like it was amazing. I was getting ready to say, and it was definitely God-centered too. So she was having just as much fun as we were.
Yes. So that's why she wasn't able to go with us this last time, but she's already committed to going with us this time, this next year. So it's going to be awesome. We're going to have a blast. But yeah, definitely, if you already know you don't want to miss it, grab the pre-sale tickets this week, because I have
never attended a conference that was so extremely affordable, that packs so much information and knowledge and gifts. Wow.
Yeah. And young mamas, next year's the year to go. We're both trying to encourage our daughters to go. The speakers that they have, a couple of them in particular are very pediatric focused.
Yes.
And are very well known. I know that one, what's her name? Alex something. Gosh, it just escaped me. Do you have that?
I don't, because it was just on the screen.
So I don't remember her last name right now, but anyway.
Was it Coulter?
I don't know. I don't remember. But I know that she spoke when Wendy and I did that big couple of week thing on the table, the health round table that RFK led back in the fall. Yeah. She was one, I had never heard of her then, but she was such a dynamic speaker. And she is a young millennial mama too. And she speaks directly to that age group. And I remember after hearing her calling my daughter and saying, look, you got to look this lady up. You need to hear her speak, because she's speaking right to you.
That was the health conference at Congress, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That she was awesome. I remember reaching out to Kirsty then and telling her she needed to listen to her. So, but she's going to be the main keynote speaker next year. And so I really, really look forward to, hearing her. But I can't stress enough, if you're a young mom, and by the way, babies are welcome. There were
so many young mamas carrying their babies around. It was beautiful.
A lot of newborns.
Yes.
A lot of newborns. And they're just, it was just such a beautiful environment.
And every time I stepped outside to get fresh air or whatever, the playground was full of kids.
Yeah. Even in the rain, when it was raining, the kids were out there playing. I was like, oh, these kids are being raised right. They're not terrified of
being out in the rain.
Right. It was awesome. But anyway, so the first day we did intensives. We did these, it's a 3-hour breakout session, 3.5-hour breakout session. That's not included in the conference, but it was only what did we pay for those?
$65, I think.
That sounds right. It wasn't bad at all.
No, it was very affordable.
Yeah. And the hardest thing was picking which one, because we wanted to do them all. Yeah. I did one on aromatherapy, which I was so giddy because it ended up being Jasmine Lucero, who, what a sweetheart. I just fell in love with her.
She was amazing.
Yeah, she's the publisher of Christian Herbal Magazine, which is how Wendy and I found out about this conference to begin with. And so to be able to be in that 3.5-hour class with her was just so incredible. And which one did you do?
I did the Transform Your Kitchen and Health with Traditional Cooking Methods with Kat Owens and Maureen Diaz. So it was fermenting, it was sourdoughs, it was preservation. Yeah. It's and she talked a lot about what pressure canning does to our food. Yeah. Which I had no idea. So, because, I spent a whole lot of time learning how to pressure can, and now I'm rethinking pressure canning, actual pressure canning, water bath. I'll probably be doing a whole lot more water bath canning and working on the fermenting the foods. So that was just amazing. It was a lot of hands-on because we got to make things like you did. And I think that was probably one of the best things about the intensives is that it was kind of hands-on.
Yeah. Yeah. I just realized that I didn't edit the name from last week. Mine still says
Dr. Winnie Sue and Wendy.
Yes. I'm I guess wishful thinking that I'm still in the same location with you like we were last week. I just noticed that.
And then when I left your house Sunday, I felt so sad.
It was such a great few days together. It was so awesome. Yeah, no, that's amazing. I love the hands-on experience of the intensives. Was there anything specific that you pulled from there, like just nuggets that you want to share? I had a couple that I wanted to share from mine.
From the intensive, or you share first, and I'll pull out my notes because I didn't write notes for our podcast today. I just brought everything along of all the notes that I took while we were there.
Okay. Well, I won't share it all because it's impossible. But the main things I will tell you, talk about walking away wanting something. I want a copper still. They showed us how to make your own essential oils and the hydrosols. And now I want a still to make hydrosols.
Right.
It would be cool to make essential oils, but now if nobody has ever seen the process, you will appreciate why it's so expensive to purchase essential oils. Because I was watching, they had this big, was it a 10 liter? What did she have? No, 5 liter still. But when the 5 liter still that you have it's small enough to still do on the stovetop, but not big enough to do essential oils because you only, out of a whole 5 liter process, you only get a tiny few drops of essential oil out of that. You need a 20, 30, 60 liter still to get any appreciable amount of the essential oil. And the rest
aren't hydrosols just as effective as essential oils?
Yes, and a lot safer. So that really made me think, wow, essential oils certainly have their place because you need that concentrated amount in certain tinctures and certain things that, would be better. But as far as the medicinal value and the safety are far superior. Well, not the medicinal value, but the safety is far superior in the hydrosols. So, and it's so much more affordable because, again, using that example of the 5 liter still, you might have only gotten a couple drops of essential oil, but all the rest of that 5 liters after steam distillation was left with the hydrosol. And so I thought that was was really
amazing.
Yeah. It was an interesting thing to be able to see. Also, we made a headache blend, just an oil blend, but then we also made a lip balm, which I've made before. We made a I gave you some of them. Oh, the cold sore.
Yeah, the cold sore balm. Mm-hmm.
And then there was something else we made. I don't remember. It might have just been a healing balm. I can't remember now. But anyway, it was incredible. It was just to have those that we were able to hands-on make. I also found out that one of the best proven remedies for rosacea, I know we get a lot of questions about this. Yes, healing internally is always going to be my first thing because rosacea can drastically clear up or get worse based on what you're eating. They were doing blends of castor oil and rosemary for rosacea healing, and I thought that was neat.
I am definitely a firm believer in the castor oil. Only because I do not wear my reading glasses anymore. I don't have to. I use castor oil all over my eyes every night. Yeah.
One of the things that they drilled home over and over and over again, quality and authenticity is everything. We've talked about that at length on here. You want a company that is raising everything organically or better than organically. if you know local people that are making this stuff, even better.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of the mass made ones are adding stuff that make them not pure.
Because they're trying to preserve it to be able to ship and this, that, and the other. And
well,
it's just like your food.
Yes.
Make sure that what you're getting is what you want. Make sure it's a good quality, it's sustainable, good sources, know what you're getting.
Yeah. I have said for years that the foundational thing for me, other than it being organic, is if they offer the GC and MS testing, because a lot of good companies out there, they will send it either upon request or they automatically send it with each batch, which is gas chromatography and mass spectrometry. Those are the two tests that are done to determine purity.
Right.
They should have those available. There are some companies that refuse, and I'm looking at you, one of those popular companies that a lot of people just love to push. Also, you know what? When you're dealing with the medicinal values of aromatherapy, make sure that the person that you're getting this information, either do your own research, because there's a lot of great data out there, but make sure the person that you're getting this information from does not have an ulterior agenda and is pushing a product. You really want to get your information from somebody who is well-versed in these aromatherapy or in these essential oils, because there is a danger to using, too much or poor quality or whatever, but
I would say do your own research no matter what. Even if you're dealing with someone that you trust, always back that up by looking it up.
Yeah. And there was one thing, because a lot of times I'll have people say, well, how do I know if the one that I have is pure or not? They gave a test I'd never heard of. So you can put 1 drop of essential oil in a glass of water. It should not become cloudy or milky.
Nice.
If it does, that is a sign that they added a combination of water and an emulsifier to basically, to make it a cheaper product for them to be able to put out.
Make it go further for them to make more money.
Yeah. So there's a therapeutic level. And so some of these companies that are bigger names are figuring out what that therapeutic level is. And then they're adding a fat emulsifier along with water to dilute it, basically. So do that test. If you put a drop of oil in a glass of water and it gets milky or cloudy, you have an emulsifier in that. You do not have.
What a great simple test to be able to do.
Yep. So anyway, that was the one thing I thought about when you were talking about the sourdough, that probably the only conflicting information you hear at this conference is you've got people that are sourdough crazy and you've got people that are anti-gluten, right? Now, you and I have found you could be mutually exclusive. Both can be true. I am fermented foods crazy, love the idea of sourdough, don't do any gluten, with good reason. And we learned, which I wasn't going to jump ahead, but it made me think of it because I know you did sourdough in your intensive, that in 50 years, y'all, we've talked about why gluten can't be trusted. Okay. Yes, there's the glyphosates. The Industrial Revolution brought about genetic modification of the wheat or of these gluten containing grains by making the grain pods a larger percentage of the actual plant. So basically, the gluten 50 years ago, you would have had to have eaten 40 to 60 slices of bread 50 years ago to get the gluten in one slice today, y'all.
Isn't that amazing? I was blown away by that.
Insane. And that's why we need to be gluten-free. So while, yes, sourdough is the best of, if you're going to, utilize gluten, I challenge you all that are amazing sourdough bread cooks. Find a way to do it gluten-free. And if I can get my hands on that recipe from Charcoal Bakery, I will shout it from the mountaintop.
And I was going to say, if you figure it out, send us the recipe so we can do it too.
Yes, I've made some that taste good. I don't ever get that consistency right.
Yeah.
And so I've got to have something my family's going to love, you know.
Otherwise, they're just not going to do it. They're not going to eat it.
Yeah. So what else would you say that you picked up from there, from when you did your intensive?
I loved it because they were focused on reminding everyone to seek God's way in the kitchen.
Yeah.
To keep things simple.
Mm-hmm.
Only use wood cutting boards, because a lot of people have gone to the plastic and, things like that. Invest in the good knives. Invest in a good sharpener, even if it's only all you need is 5 knives basically in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So invest in good knives. That both of them agreed that every household in America should have an immersion blender.
I agree.
We agree with that. And a food processor.
Mm-hmm.
Only cook with stainless steel and cast iron, which we've talked about that.
Yes.
Make more from scratch. Utilize your kitchen, get in there, and you don't have to do elaborate meals. I mean, Wendy teaches this stuff all the time. You can make good, clean, simple meals in no time.
Yep.
And it will cost you less than going out to dinner.
Yes,
and it's going to be a whole lot better for you. Unfortunately, we didn't do hands-on sourdough, but she went through broth making. And we've done extensive things with broth, and she went through the difference of broth and stock, and that's basically bones.
Yeah.
Stock is the bones, broth is without the bones. She actually only cooks with butter, lard, ghee, or tallow. She doesn't use any avocado oil or any extra virgin olive oil, which I found very interesting. I see more people doing things with the tallow as far as cooking and skincare.
Yep.
They went through the differences between leavened and unleavened bread from the Bible. So I thought that was very interesting. They talked about how when you do any kind of sourdough or fermenting foods where just natural occurring beneficial bacteria happens. And that's what we're all lacking.
Mm-hmm.
So we need more of that. They talked about converting cups to grams for easy baking.
Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of, the big, we're very general and liberal with our cooking and dash of this and a pinch of that and all like that. We have to be a little more precise when it comes to the baking.
Yeah.
Let's see. They talked about kefirs.
Oh yeah.
I've never done before.
I haven't either.
They talked about if you're going to use wheat or have gluten, they talked about different mills to mill your own because it's different.
Yeah.
So I didn't do a deep dive on that yet, but I keep hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how different is it?
Right.
What's the gluten level in this versus the gluten level in something that you mill at home from the berries? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that'll be interesting to deep dive on that. Mm-hmm. She talked about how, like we've talked about before, and another thing that I have to look up is a Vita clay pot.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
I've never heard of it. If y'all have, let us know. She kept talking about that, and I'm like, okay, this sounds like something that I might need. But she also talked about how different your broths can be, depending on what ingredients you put in it, what bones you're using, what meats you're using. She talked about always roasting your vegetables, even if they're scraps. Roast them to get the flavor.
which I've never done in my stocks. So I thought that was really interesting, unless they were left over from a roasted meal. But
same, because when I'm cutting them up and putting them in the freezer bag for the scraps, I don't ever take them out and roast them. I just throw them right in the crock pot.
Same.
She talked about, went through all of how letting food be your medicine, the broths and stocks adding wow factors to different meals or sides, whether it's quinoa or rice or, using it to heal and drinking it just as the soup, how much it aids in digestion and how much minerals and vitamins you get from just a simple broth.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Now the VitaPot, Vita Clay.
It's called Vita Clay Pot. I haven't. That's one in my notes that that's a must look up, because I'm not familiar, but it sounded like it was a lot like a crock pot.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, if that was like a replacement for a crock pot.
Yeah, because now they're learning that of course they are learning that the crock pots may be putting things out that we don't want in our food.
The ceramic. And it's so sad because, I mean, there's a lot of, and this is one of the reasons we were telling people when we were going over cast iron, that you don't do the coated cast iron, because there's so many of them that are ceramic coated, and there's a micro form of nickel that leaches into the foods from the ceramics. And so, that is something. It's important.
So I'll be rethinking. I'll be looking into that Vita Clay pot, and I will be rethinking the replacement of my crock pots. Because we, like you, have more than one.
Yes. Luckily, mine, I think the inside is stainless. I need to look into that.
Yeah, I know mine's not. Mine's totally ceramic. Yeah. So it really got me thinking about another thing that I probably should replace now that we know more and know better. Because none of us do anything until we know better.
Right.
And then it's like Wendy and I always say, you don't have to replace everything at once. But once you know better, now that I know that, every time I use that crock pot, I'm going to be thinking about it.
Definitely. Well, girl, I know you need to. We started early today because you have a place to go, and I want to make sure that we don't make you late.
I appreciate that.
What do you have going on this week?
Everything. Everything. I'm still working on the garden area. I hope to get back out there tomorrow. I'm enjoying the stuffing out of my 6th grandbaby.
Yes.
Today's my daughter's birthday, along with your son's birthday. So I will be catching up with her after my appointment later, and just to celebrate 29 years of her being my daughter.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good.
I know we celebrating Mother's Day this weekend. So happy Mother's Day to all the mamas.
Yes. Happy Mother's Day for sure. My birthday boy, who is 32 today, my baby, he is coming in town. He's coming back in town this weekend. So I don't think we get to see each other for Mother's Day, but he's going to be here for 3 weeks because he's helping us. He's building a deck and a wheelchair ramp for my mom before she gets up here. Nice. So we're very excited about that. Bill is still working on this bathroom for her downstairs. I'm enjoying my beautiful cut flowers that we have. And today I am supposed to be getting, oh my goodness, I'm so nervous about how I'm going to get all these in. They changed the delivery date of our trees. They've changed it multiple times.
I'll say, is that today? Are they coming today?
They're coming today. So our trees, our strawberry, blueberry, and raspberry plants, plus Wendy brought me some amazing stuff. So somehow I need to create 18 of me so I can get everything planted. So that will be happening.
Look at the weather forecast and just work your honey off until it's supposed to rain.
Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So It'll be an interesting few days, but that's where all my energy is going to be. So next week, hopefully I'll have a suntan when I talk to y'all, because I'll be outside so much, and get a lot of good vitamin D. But
wonderful.
Anyway, we'll have lots more to share next week. I know that Wendy and I will probably do a part 2 of some other things we learned. It won't be as much general stuff. It's going to be more diving into certain breakout sessions. And then I think after that, we would have covered the general overview of so much. So anyway, as always, don't hesitate to reach out if you have anything that you want us to cover. Wendy's on wellness@gmail.com. We do check that email address so that we can see you and see what
answer questions or bring up topics.
Yep. And other than that, we hope you guys have an amazing Mother's Day, a wonderful week, and we will see you all next week.
Yes.
Mwah.
Mwah.